Ladies and gentlemen, this is the North America Australia Presbytery YouTube channel. And again, we thank you guys very much for your support and keeping us encouraged in what we've started to do. May the Almighty God bless you. My name is Evans and I'm your host today. And we have no one other than, matter of fact, you know what? I'll let him introduce himself. But first, this is my first time meeting him as well as the president of the North America Australia YAF. Am I correct?
Correct.
Welcome to the platform.
Thank you, sir.
Do me a favor, introduce yourself so that everybody can get to know. This is actually my first time meeting you as well, so I'm privileged enough to meet you. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is AGYEI.
Wow.
And like you rightly said, I am the president for the North America Australia Presbytery YAF.
Wow.
And I'm happy to meet you too.
Thank you very much. Welcome to New Jersey. Welcome to Ascension Congregation. I definitely know because I am a member of YAF, but for the sake of our viewers, let me ask you, what brought you to New Jersey?
So the fellowship in the presbytery every year gather, and it's a convention at our church that every year we gather and then we assess how the performance of the year has been. And then we evaluate and then we can then take stock and plan for the next year. And so this year, being the 8th that the presbytery has had Congress in the presbytery fellowship, we chose to come to Ascension to gather as a fellowship within the North American Australia Presbytery, so that at least we'll look at how 2024 went, some of the lessons that we can take from, and how we can plan out 2025 and 2026 to come as well. Just a little bit of context, and probably as you already know, the church has courts. We run from the congregation level to the district, to the presbytery, to the national. In the fellowship, the young adult fellowship, we call the congregation a branch, and then it goes to the districts, and then it goes to the presbytery, and then the national. The gathering, the high decision-making body of the presbytery is what we call the Congress. And so at Congress, we have delegates from all over the presbytery, district presidents who are council members of the district of the presbytery, together with the officers, will be obviously in attendance. And then we would have delegates from each local, each branch that has been inaugurated. And those who want to observe, we open it up because the fellowship is a learning platform for people who want to be able to understand how the church is nurturing. So yes, this is our 8th since the fellowship was created in the presbytery. And we're happy to be in New Jersey. And to top it up, this is my last session as well as president. We couldn't find a better place to have it than Ascension.
Well, you know what? New Jersey welcomes you. And definitely, I'll count this as a second home, right?
Absolutely.
If I may ask, what state or where are you coming from?
So I am in California.
Cali, okay.
I am with the California districts. I worship with the Holy Hill Congregation in Los Angeles.
Okay. And then who's your minister there?
So I have a district minister, and I have a resident. My district minister is Reverend Emmanuel Danso. And the resident minister is Reverend Dr. Samuel Sasu.
Okay, so I definitely had the chance to meet them as well. So that's beautiful. Now, we want to get to know you a little bit and then talk about it being your last, I guess your last year, last term.
My last term.
Your last term. Yes. Let me talk about that. And then, of course, before you were handed the position, you definitely had a lot of things in plan. We talk a little bit about were you able to accomplish it, right? And then any advice that you have for the presbytery executives coming, and then also the whole general YAF as its own. So let's get to know you a little bit. Where were you born?
Well, I was born in a little town in Ukwapim called Aparedi. It's a very interesting town because it was the last town on the Ukwapim Ridge stretch. What makes it interesting is that what it means is that when you get into the town, you do anything there, you enter and exit at the same place. So you dare not come there and do anything that is not right.
Wow, wow.
But I guess that it was just tells you that I'm an Ekuapem. I'm a Guan, and there are tenets that help us to be able to identify ourselves as well
Wow.
in that sense.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yes.
I saw the smile on your face when you started mentioning about that you are from a crap. I guess you're
Right.
very proud about that.
Yes. Well, I think that one of the things that gives us, God granted us, is the identity that we have, the place that He chose to bring us from, and our understanding of those places grant us the expectation that we want to have in this world. And so
Correct.
I'm excited because I'm one of people who probably will take time to learn why something is unique in an environment. And I think
Correct.
that Ikuapem kind of holds something that's close, and I'm excited to be an Ikuapem.
Amazing, amazing. And so, have you always been a Presbyterian?
Yes, I have always been a Presbyterian. I was born a Presbyterian because my parents were both Presbyterians. But just like any other maybe young person was born probably in my age group, you follow, and I come from a very large family in terms of the extended family, because we all grew up under our grandfather's tutelage, and so what it meant was that you have cousins and a lot of them, because my granddad had a lot of had about probably 8 kids, and their kids became their cousin and their
Definitely.
family. So we had a big family.
Definitely.
Some of them went into different churches because one of my uncle married the daughter of a CAC prophetess.
Okay.
And so when we were kids, we used to go to CAC. But again, you have people in the family who go to probably apostolic.
Correct.
You visit them.
Correct.
But I've always been a Presbyterian.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Being a Presbyterian, what is one thing that you could definitely say made you stay, right? Made you stay?
I think that the values that our church projects is very important to our faith,
Okay.
because, and as you know, we are almost 200 years.
That's right.
The Bible tells us that by their fruit you will know them, right? And so if we have been in existence for almost 200 years, it tells you that there's something that is keeping us. Otherwise, there are a lot of people where we've read about, who've come along, done amazing things, but you can't identify their churches. But you look at young people who traveled from probably comfortable environments, came to a place they don't have no idea what's going to go on. It's not a contemporary world like today that you could probably pick a phone and call somebody.
That's right.
You die, nobody know you are dead. They came to our country, came to work. Some died. They still brought other people. They still died. And yet they were still coming. It tells you that God had a purpose for us. And I think that there are virtues that our church instilled in us. And I'm sure probably well aware that there were times that our church, if you see a Presbyterian and you go out and you want to go for an interview, they ask you a Presbyterian, they don't interview you. Because they believe that you are respectful, you are an honest person, you are a respectful person. Because of where the church grew up. The Capium, as I mentioned, the Ghana area, these were people who value relationship and value their relationship with other people. And so the culture of the church, or we call the polity of the church, is one thing that for me grounds me. I always pride myself as one of the chief of the old block, because I studied under people that understood the church, they studied the church, they grew in the church. So, for instance, current moderator of the church is one of the persons that I had the privilege of working with as a YPG member. And so that's the thing, the lifestyle that our church creates in everybody. It's one thing that has kept me as a church.
It's really amazing you touched on that, right? And my question to you is, and I definitely believe in what you said, but my question to you is, do you really think that with the upcoming youth as of now, do we still have that same, I want to say maybe the privilege, whereby when we go to places, people look at us and say, okay, he's a Presbyterian, she's a Presbyterian. They still have that, I guess what is the right word? I guess the the respect, the good upbringing? Do we still have that in the system now?
It's been a bit diluted.
Okay.
And I think it's because we're copying blindly. Our church is almost 200 years. We have 850 hymns of mixtures. Each of these hymns has background stories of people who wrote the hymns out of their lifestyle. Some of these hymns were written in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, right? We still sing them. The church has policies that other denominations come to copy. Let me give you an example. I remember years back at General Assembly, the ICGC now used to send people to come to GA to come and learn the way that our church culture is. Because our church is one that is, I guess we understand when we say that Christ alone, sola scriptura, scripture alone. Our church doesn't focus on people, it focuses on Christ. So there's no phase, single phase. You could be a phase for probably a certain dispensation, but you pass away. And yet the church will still be there because of the systems and structures. And I think that we copy blindly because we see the euphoria of drives that goes on somewhere and we compare them with ourselves without knowing where we are coming from. I think that some of these things come out of the roots of challenges of identity.
Okay.
I guess we're losing a little of our identity, and it's because we're watching too much of outside than within ourselves. So let me give an example.
That's right.
For instance, in Ghana, there is the Pentecost worship. They have this some auditorium in Pram Pram. It's a big place, right? A lot of times that we compare ourselves with them, and I think it's good that you benchmark yourself with somebody who is doing similar as you're doing, because we have faith.
That's right.
In Christ. But we have an institution that has been in existence for 125 years. Right, the Ramsey Training College.
That's right.
If you go there and you look at the edifice and you ask yourself, 125 years, this edifice was there, you will know that we were on top of things, right? And if you look at the culture of our church, the reason why we have one of the strongest virtue or probably department of our church is a clan is that we minister in age group. So we have the junior youth, the children's service, the YPG, the YAF, the women. We try and make sure that there's peer nurturing, all right? So that you could guide yourself with other people, right? Unfortunately, we look outside a lot, and that makes us forget that we hold a pride. The pride that Christ has brought us thus far and has sustained us to a point that we're still strong. And finally, about this, let me just give you an example of one of the things that used to be the strongest part of our church. And the way I grew up to it was that these people who didn't know their date of birth used to come to the PCG Mission House to learn about the date of birth. There are 3 key documents that we used to keep in our church: the Chronicle, the Minister's Diary, the Station Diary. So when there's an event, we write them in there, like maybe just a general event, like COVID.
Okay.
So let me give you when COVID happened, the PCG was one of the churches that was well managed because we had history recorded in a chronicle of things that has been done. How many of us want to learn this? But we will look at how people do their ministry now, and we just say, why don't we just go and do it that way? But if you have lived for a long time, your decision-making approach is different from somebody who's not lived for a long time, because you've gone through systems and structures, and so you decide based on factors. The reason why when our church wants to decide, you can't just come in and you say something, we decide. We'll take you through the mail, make sure that if it is good, it will come out well. And at this point,
that's right.
So Otobas na wawon yi na afe we na say me pentam ntimi mbubo so bia be yaba.
That's right.
Right. If you we no e was say but we don't bounce na yaba.
That's right.
And so our church takes you, if we take a decision, it probably take about 2-3 years. So that if it is good, by the time we come back, we have a decision, right? So I think that the challenge is because we have a problem of identity of our own selves. We don't really know who we are. And sometimes I feel that we're not teaching enough as we used to teach. Some of these things that I'm saying are common things that when I was growing up, we used to learn. When I was growing up, when it is, when we say that let us worship, there's an impression created in your mind that we are before God. Whatever you're doing, you keep quiet, you shut up, right? Because we are before God. So once they say, well, let us worship, the choir process, they enter, we barricade the entire place, you don't enter. The only time we can enter is when we're having praise and adoration. And once they are done their sermon, nobody comes to disturb, nobody walks in front of, because it is the presence of God. And I think that we've lost most of these things because we don't know how to learn. Yeah.
The last part you mentioned concerning there's a process, right? And not be, I don't want to use the word order, right? But I'm definitely, you could see that in the Presbyterian Church as of now.
We call it order. Yeah. But that's what God taught us. You know, when the Lord wanted Noah to build the ark, he gave specific dimensions. And that's what the Bible will tell you, that our Lord is not a disorder God. So when God wants, he's very specific. Unfortunately, we live in a certain era. Today I was listening to, one of the guys that I used to listen to, and says that we raise a generation that when they're doing everything, we kind of edge them on. You did the wrong thing. We say, oh, I mean, it will work out. It will work out. Oh, it is good that you actually tried. We don't put them to NML. And so when they grow to a certain point and they go to, say, a corporate world, they know that you are not rewarded by effort. They feel extinct, And so I think that there's an order. The reason why our church is what it is because there's order. There's order. And anybody who is disorderly, trust me, you may be disorderly for a time, just for a time. And the system will just fish you out.
I was able to visit a Presbyterian church in Ghana. I think it's Victory, if I'm not mistaken.
That's my home church.
And when I came back, actually, matter of fact, I visited there, I want to say maybe twice or three times when I was in Ghana. And I was able to visit the YAF as well. Shout out to them if they get a chance to see this. And when we talk about order, right? Well, I haven't seen it yet, but that was the first place that it made me realize that if there's order in the church, right, there's growth.
Yeah. So I was in fact, before I traveled, that was my home church.
Wow.
I was coordinator for ecumenical and social relations for the church for about 7 years. I mean, I'm still on the IAF platform, so.
So am I.
I'm still on the IAF platform. I was somewhere probably 2013-ish, 14-ish. I was evangelism coordinator. I became a program committee chairperson, and I think that the YAF thing that's started, and I've seen the progression of it because I know most of the guys there, is the fact that people put some commitment to work. We put some commitment to work. We try to make sure that there is demonstration of things that when you do and it is right, we embrace them. But the church also had programs that kind of draw people. And there are two that I could mention. One of the mission, one of the inspirations that made YAF, have missions in North America, Australia, Presbytery. And the other one, we used to have the Victory Business Summit, where every year we bring people to come and kind of run some of these things. So I think that it's a church that has evolved. Yeah.
I went to the YAF meeting for the first time as well. And if I'm not mistaken, there was about 30 or 40 members showed up. I want to say maybe on a Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, well, I'm not sure because there are 4 groups in the YAF alone. Okay. Each group has more than 100 people.
And I asked them, like, so I had the chance to, give me a welcome, and I asked them, Muye Juma? They said, yeah. They said, yeah. So how do you get the chance to come here at 7 p.m. For YAF meeting?
I guess that sometimes when you know who God is, you understand what He can do.
Know who God is.
I have a friend. I always tease her and say that she knows how to pull the hand of God for blessings. And that's for me is one of the ways that we give. If you know how to get God to bless you, it's a great thing. If you go to that place, in fact, even in YPG, the guys are some of them are doctors, some of them are, the church at the time when I was living was about 3,000. We ran 2 services. First service, you probably get about 500. Second service, about probably 800. On a good day, you probably get 800 in the first service, about 1,500 in the second service. But the bonding, the fellowship also rose beyond that. But behind all these ways is an architecture that's been designed to sustain these things. And I think that's one of the things that we don't see at the forefront of it, but has built the base, the foundation, and I guess that's what is keeping us going on.
Listen, it's amazing, and the welcome, right? The way they just welcome everybody. It felt like, oh man, whenever I get the chance to go back to Ghana again, I'm definitely going there to visit one more time.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So let's talk about leadership, right? When we talk about leadership, what does leadership mean to you?
There's always been this say that leadership is a cause of other things and effects. I think leadership is an expression of oneself through the things that you do and is identified with. And leadership must be guided by principles and from values. And so I will see leadership as the experience that drive desires in other people to follow. Sometimes I've seen the evolution of Ascension, for instance, and I know the minister so well. I will say that leadership is that thing that makes people, they wouldn't do for somebody, but do for another person, right? And so if you were to hit that point where people won't do it because you are evolved, I guess you're leading them. But I also think that leadership is inspired by the effects that what you say you do, even if there are oppositions.
Repeat that one more time.
Leadership is with the effect that what you say you do, even if there are oppositions. So the people that we see out there who have done great things facing numerous oppositions. But I always give this example. If today you are called by friends and say, hey, Charlie, we need to, there's a funeral, we need to, get some clothes and things like that. And maybe all you had is to put money into some business or to probably educate yourself. And so you couldn't have it. You have two choices. To let them know that you don't have it because of what you're doing, or to go borrow. If you choose that you're not going to borrow, you do it, they would at that time insult you. They will call you names. They will give all the things. But the effect of if you go use whatever it is in steady and then you get the effect and you begin to help these guys, they'll come to you and ask you, what did you do? Right? So leadership, and that's why I think that's the reason why we say leadership is a cause rather things that effect. Because once you do those things, it's a deviation from what the masses is doing. But it drives and affects that people will want to now change their orientation to come follow you.
Wow. I would definitely write that down whenever we are done, because it's beautiful. It's very, very well said and explained. I like that. Did you ever think that there will come to a time whereby you hold such a great position as this?
Well, I've been probably in a while in our church. I've been like this for a while. Between 2007, 2010, I was the youth superintendent for Captain Presbytery. I worked on a two-chairperson, the Reverend retired C.B. Asherin and the very Reverend AGYEI Mante, with the former moderator.
Yes.
So between 2004 and 2010, I was a youth leader at a Presbytery level. And so I've had that, and this is Captain Presbytery. Captain Presbytery is huge, and so that is why probably like I said, that I'm probably one of the old blogs. I studied under people who have gone through the system, right? And therefore, it helps you to be able to be part of it.
So pretty much you've always been a leader.
I've always wanted to challenge myself. Yes.
So holding this leadership, I'm sure you had a couple of, I want to say maybe things that you had in mind to accomplish, right? Do you want to definitely name a few?
Yes. So that is one of the things that I observe from the people that I've seen as leaders, is that you have a certain objective and you run towards it. When we were given the responsibility to serve in the capacity, I drove the officers to do things. So we set up what we call the 3S strategy. The first one is synergy. Actually, the first one is spiritual, and the second is synergy, and the third is support. So we wanted to drive the spirituality of the fellowship, such that we understand the Presbyterianism aspect of it. So, for instance, last year we went for the first gathering of the Presbytery, where you can come out. You don't need to be a delegate; just come as a holiday style. If you have been to YPG, the Nubjan style kind of thing.
That's right.
And we had the fireside hymnals. We would take each hymn, we read the background, and we would sing it. Just to drive that in us. So, and one of it was to have a missions. You have missions to some of the places, and this year we were able to do that. We went to Auckland to evangelize. For 1 week we were there. We reached out to more than 300 people in Auckland. And so we did a spiritual part. The other part was synergy. You know that there's diversity in the fellowship, so you need to be able to coordinate all of them together. And I feel that also even in the diaspora, the diversity is so widespread that if you're able to bring them, you energize them to want to live more. And so you bring them, build them in a certain way that they can help. And so we had to build a platform that we can, get everybody on board. And so, yes, that was one of the things that we also tried to do. And I'll talk about this tomorrow. I'm doing my address and give the parameters to let people know what we achieved and what we couldn't achieve. The other part, which was, so if we have the synergy and we had the support. The support was a way that we can also use other people to augment other people's weakness. So if probably you need to do something, there's somebody who has it, who can help you. And so we can be able to build some synergy. 1 + 1 has never been 2 because it builds, as you know people, you begin to expand your understanding of things. So yeah, tomorrow I will talk about it in details in my address.
Definitely. And I was definitely going to ask you about were you able to accomplish it and not, but we will hold on to that for tomorrow and make sure that we definitely are able to record it and put it on tape. Well, I'm sure this is not the last time we definitely talk. I'm sure if God being so good, Sunday after church, I'll definitely try and catch you because I know you're definitely going to be busy. And I'll try and catch you.
I see that people are calling already because the session's already started.
Exactly. So I thank you very much. We definitely, this is part 1 of it. I thank you very much. I'm humbled enough to finally, I see your name everywhere, and then on the flyer, I'm like, it's to me, who president to who president, but it's amazing. Thank you very much, and also thank you for the work that you've done for YAF, and I cannot wait to hear the accomplishment that you'll be talking about, God willing, tomorrow. Appreciate you very much. Thank you very much for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, and I'm glad and I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation. Please like, subscribe, and tell a friend about the North America Australia Presbytery YouTube channel. See you.